welcome to the Superhero Show. I'm Daniel, this is Chris, and I've been away, but fortunately enough for me, nothing's really been happening in the world of superheroes. Is that kind of right, Chris?
No, one thing happened.
Terrible at acting.
Ray Fisher's been cast as Cyborg.
There you go. Thank you, and join us next week.
Well, that came out about a week ago, and then it led into another announcement, which was a bit more exciting, and annoyingly, it was after our show had gone live.
Maybe we should really think about changing the date for this, because we always miss the biggest story of the week.
Every single time.
Yeah.
But this is big. Zack Snyder is directing a Justice League movie straight after Batman vs Superman. It's happening. I guess we thought it was going to happen.
He's a busy boy. So what's the timeline like for this?
Well, we don't know. Initially,
any more details?
The announcement was made. Initially, we thought it was coming out 2018. Now, word has come. Hollywood Reporter is claiming it could bow in 2017, which would be a year after Batman vs Superman. So this could be...
But I imagine, what if they're gearing up for kind of a double production with this, actually?
Well, of course, I think...
Because Superman vs Batman fell a year.
Yeah.
You're hiring a lot of the characters. I imagine a lot of them are going to have cameos. It sounds like each week we're hearing about a new character that's going to appear in Batman vs Superman. Maybe it's a back-to-back production.
Well, I feel like we talked about that on this show when it got pushed back a year. The movie we speculated it might be a Justice League movie. Yeah. Well, no, it's just two movies shot back to back, and
it's a good way to catch up on the time they're kind of missing by delaying Batman vs Superman.
So, what do you think about Zack Snyder shooting the big one?
Okay, it's going to ruin the effect. This isn't the first time I heard that news.
Sure.
But when I heard it, I kind of tweeted about it. I was in an airport in, where was I? I was in Las Vegas. And I tweeted about it. And I said, just showing off there, that I just, while I think, I'm putting all my Zack Snyder opinions to one side, I'm just going to extricate them for the conversation for now. I just think it's a little bit dull that they've gone with the same director again. What you think of Zack Snyder aside, they've gone for the same director, and I tweeted this because obviously I'm thinking of the Marvel model where they've gone for different directors a lot and kind of unorthodox choices in some cases. I think of Kenneth Branagh for Thor, an unorthodox choice there. And then obviously getting Joss Whedon for the Avengers seemed very right. But going for the same director, I think, says something about the way that Warner Brothers is approaching these films right now. I think they're approaching it more like a series than a universe, which is encompassing of more different types of tone and approaches. They want it to be a bit more unified, which kind of makes sense when you're trying to introduce a lot of characters quickly. And when I tweeted this, I actually got a good response, and I think it's worth just reading out.
That's my phone.
That's actually your phone, not mine.
It's embarrassing.
So this guy called Josh Epstein contacted me, and he kind of groaned. He's like, is it absolutely necessary for everything Warner Brothers does to be compared to Marvel? I think he's got a point there. We probably do that unfairly.
Sure.
But it's simply because Marvel have got it all up and running, and they have irrefutably made a big success of it.
Yeah, and that's why we've called the show what we have this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a feeling that maybe DC have been flailing around a little bit with Green Lantern and some of the other movies. So
they're losing time.
This is the continuity that maybe that studio, that company, these films need. We'll see though. The other thing they said in the announcement was that a Wonder Woman film might happen. President of Worldwide Marketing, Sue Kroll, said that executives are warming to the idea of a Wonder Woman movie. They're waiting for the right script, but she says she thinks the world is ready for her.
That's probably been ready for a while. They're just waiting. I think that's an interesting point you made about continuity. It's two ways to approach continuity. You either have a grand plan, like Kevin Feige's got, and you hire the directors and you say, this is our schematic. Or you get one guy and you say, you be the one to launch it and get everything in place. And I think they're approaching it from two different perspectives.
I think we all like the idea of Kevin Feige overseeing this whole project at Marvel, though. And
you kind of think they were trying to make out that Christopher Nolan was doing that with Man of Steel, which I don't buy. I never bought that, really. Should we put those Zack Snyder considerations back to the forefront for a second? Do you think
on the back burner? The forefront, we'll be putting them, that we talk about them next.
Oh, we should talk about them. Because I put them to one side. I think we should bring them back. Do you think he specifically should be the guy in charge with basically defining these characters for the first time, a lot of them on the big screen, and be the guy to set it up for maybe other directors to then take on? He's got very specific style to him. Do you trust him?
I don't know, because I don't know. I'm a bit confused this week. This is just personal feeling. I really liked Man of Steel when it came out.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I rewatched it the other day, and I didn't like it as much. And I felt like it was more style over substance, and there were some really interesting scenes of drama happening that were just getting confused by all the effects, and it just seemed like we were using special effects to kind of the bang factor was kind of overtaking the story that I really wanted to see.
It's going to be a crazy movie. Like I can't right now, and obviously that's on them to decide how to do it, but it's going to be a crazy amount of stuff happening. And it's going to have to be like 3 hours to set up a lot of stuff and have a story in itself. And we spoke about this a bit with Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is just open in America, suffers from the fact that it's trying to set up a lot of stuff for all the other films it wants to make. And I just think with this, knowing that you've got this other big film to make next, that whether this film itself suffers because of it, that it doesn't have its own breathing space to be a film in its own right, tell its own story. Because it's gone, I've got to set up this character. By the end of the film, you need to know who he is, who she is. And I just worry about all that additional pressure that most good films that are telling stories don't have to contend with.
Well, talking about the DC universe and how it compares with the Marvel universe, we've had an email on that subject from David Mitchell Baker, who says that with the news that Justice League movie is coming out in 2018 with Zack Snyder directing, I was wondering whether you think that we will now see the beginning or the future development of a DC cinematic universe, similar to what Marvel has had since the first Iron Man film. And funny enough, while you're away, more news broke.
That is funny.
Big news. It's hilarious. And it's from the Wall Street Journal, which isn't funny. They say that Warner Brothers may be developing 9 more DC comic films. And these films are separate to Batman vs Superman and Justice League. They talk about the Sandman, which we've spoken about before. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's developing that one. But they also say that Metal Man, Shazam, 100 Bullets and Fables are all in the works, as well as, I guess, 5 more.
Yeah.
So things are happening.
Kind of peripheral adaptations, though, that are associated with the DC imprint rather than the more kind of out-and-out superhero characters.
Yeah, not the mainstream.
And I think, obviously, the operative word there is may. You know, if it is a massive success, of course we're going to see the DC universe fleshed out more on the big screen. But it's all contingent upon the success of what Snyder does next.
Do you think?
Well, if they don't make money, I don't think they're going to be in a rush to greenlight a load of more expensive movies. I think some of the other movies would get away unscathed on the smaller projects with more kind of new first-time directors. But nobody's going to make... There's a difficult thing with the JLA movie. Say you put all these characters on big screen and like people think those characters don't really work or nobody really takes to them. They're not going to greenlight an entire movie based on the back of that one character. Or maybe you just don't get the casting right, then you're going to have to recast it. I don't know, it's very tricky.
But there's so much money to be made through these superhero movies. Like, we've talked for years, I think, about fatigue setting in. It hasn't yet. Every summer, 3 or 4 of the top 6 films of the year.
But it's still, when would you, since they became like all that's in cinemas, we're probably approaching, what, 8th year? Like, really, like, we're thinking the end of Raimi's Spider-Man run is when they started to get, like, really 2 or 3 a year. In terms of cinematic genres, that's still quite early on. Like, cinematic genres go for, what, 10, 15 years? Slasher genre did something like that. Slashers, like, late 70s, early 90s. Early 90s started getting parodic slasher films, like Scream. Like, because they always say, like, when a genre gets to the end of its life, it starts taking the piss out of itself. That's how you know when a genre's about to die. But you never know. By the time that 2018 comes around, you might be getting towards the end of the genre. Marvel might be doing very different things. And that's why I think the emphasis on Schneider to do something different with those films, because by the time that comes out, we'll already have a more, you know, we're going to have 5 or 6 more superhero movies of the same ilk.
Do you think then there's a chance that Batman vs Superman won't make near to $1 billion? Because I can't see it. Even if it's a bit of a turkey, I feel like that movie is going to get close to that number. I think
it might be brilliant. It might not be. I think curiosity value alone, the draw of Batman alone, and then all the other stuff, like just the curiosity of that. You know, trading on the appeal of people who know nothing about comics and just go, oh, it'll be like the Avengers, and then they enjoy the Avengers. You'll get people on that. You'll bring so many different audiences back. You'll have so many people who go see it 2-3 times, like we will. So I probably will do. But imagine this problem. If you made the Avengers, who's one of the best Avengers in that movie? The Hulk. And you go, oh, give him the first spin-off movie. And we know that Hulk films have not traditionally worked. It's him as a main character. So you could find yourself in that kind of problem where people go, oh, I do an Aquaman movie or a Cyborg movie. And it just might not work. So it's very difficult. But I think it's interesting the way that Warner Brothers are approaching it. I think it's good for them having their own approach, not trying to ape what other people are doing.
I agree.
I think it's a more probably financially cautious approach. Like you're going down the one line with all the characters and then spinning off rather than scattering your pieces.
But there's not just one way to approach this issue.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting, and it's really cool to see them stepping up their game, which is what it sounds like is happening right now.
Okay. So we probably want to hear what you think on this subject. There's lots to talk about, as always, but send us your feedback at IGN_UK, feedback@IGN.com. I still haven't changed that. I probably never will. I'm sorry. That's it for this week's superhero show. That's your lot.